Greetings, nerds. This is SNN Nerd. I'm your host, Sarah Belmont, and with me, as always, is our Mr. Producer Will Polk. How are you doing tonight, Will?
Doing very well, Sarah. How you doing this Thursday evening?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing all right.
That's good. That's good. Did you catch Succession this week?
I am caught up. You disclosed after making me feel like you were ahead of me that you hadn't been watching season 3.
I did. I did watch episode 3. I'm behind episode 4, but I got sidetracked with The Harder They Fall on Netflix. With Idris Elba and the Black Excellence Western, which was really good actually. Yeah,
Okay.
it was really good. I'm not a big Western person, but I really did enjoy that.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my excuse. So it wasn't like, it wasn't like I was watching a football game or anything.
I wasn't thinking you were. I just you made it seem like you were ahead of me on this show, and then it came out during the post show last week.
Well, yeah. Well, I was there for a minute, but then now I'm behind again.
Yeah. Oh man, I don't even know where to start today because I feel like there are moments when I look at our rundown and I'm like, okay, this is manageable, and then you just go in there and you put all of the stuff, and I'm like, okay, well, if you want to talk about this stuff, let's go through it. It's just going to be Will explaining things to me for about 10 minutes. Stranger Things 4 release is slated for summer 2022, and Netflix also released the titles for all 9 episodes. No, we will not be going through the titles of all 9 episodes.
Don't worry, I don't have the 9 titles, but I just, and actually, it was one of those things where I was like, I should have just put on the chopping block because, I guess Stranger Things Day was last Saturday, and so Netflix had their big. They've become like everyone else doing these event days. Like we got Disney Plus Day coming tomorrow for giving it to celebrate its 2-year anniversary. We can talk about that more in a bit, but they again they dropped another trailer, and basically 7-Eleven is in California, and looking forward to Scream. I was thinking that for whatever reason the movie 7 popped in my head.
Oh man! All right, we'll watch it whenever it drops. Who cares?
You're giving me shit, and now I'm like, this just threw me completely off my game.
I just am like looking at this and like, why does Will want to talk about this? I feel like every other episode we say Stranger Things 4 will be released next year. This is nothing new.
Yeah, I know. Well, you should have taken it off. Okay, we're doing post-production. We're doing pre-production in the middle of our
movie.
podcast.
I'm trying to move on. You won't let me go.
Sorry.
Premiere dates for Superman and Lois, Naomi, and The Flash moves to Wednesday in 2020. Okay. I should definitely start reading these things beforehand. But okay, so we went over this during the pre-show today. Superman and Lois and Naomi. 2 different shows. Can you imagine if Superman and Lois came back for season 2 and then they were like Superman, Lois, and Naomi?
Well, they're on the same night. They're coming back January 11th. So they are back to back. And he was in the trailer. Yes.
I hope the listeners at least laughed at my joke because Will completely disregarded it. Anyway, The Flash will move to Wednesdays. Next week, we'll start talking about this whole Armageddon situation. You can tell by my tone, I'm really looking forward to it. And then we're going to see The Flash up until Christmas. And then in March, we will see it again.
Yeah.
How many Wells will we see? That's the question.
Yeah, Tom Cavanaugh, I think, is slated to do a guest spot this year. But, but I guess they'll be back on Tuesdays, and then moving to Wednesdays next March.
Okay. Supergirl ended.
Yeah, it did.
And I didn't watch a single episode of the final season.
I started the first few episodes, and then they this didn't grab me, and then I did watch the finale. I guess the back-to-back episodes for the finale and the penultimate episode, and it basically, it did what it needed to do. I thought it was, the show stayed true to itself. I think whenever we work, so Kara would basically, she realized that, hey, I am not. I can let other people come to the realization that they can save themselves, and it was all about hope and all. So yeah, it was good, but I think definitely narratively, I think they ended the show at a good place.
Awesome. Patty Jenkins, Star Wars film Rogue Squadron is delayed. Shocking. I am so shocked by a movie being delayed right now, especially with a director who is overseeing one franchise, and then all of a sudden gets announced to directing a Star Wars movie. Like, yeah, no shit.
Yeah.
Who could have predicted this?
Oh yeah, not only that, but then she also, overseeing the Wonder Woman franchise, and then they confirmed that one. Then she and Gal also have the Cleopatra film coming up that they're going to make, and yeah, she just basically overbooked herself. I mean, it has nothing to do with COVID. She just but also I think there's some thoughts that maybe there was some creative differences going on between Patty and Lucasfilm. Imagine that.
That's the next announcement to come.
Yeah.
She's going to eventually walk away from the project due to creative differences.
Yeah.
I remember them announcing all of these Star Wars movies. This was one where I was very skeptical.
But they had. You were skeptical, but they had such a big production with it. It was like special trailers and X-wings flying around, and I mean, it was just like.
This is 2021, end of 2021. We, as in viewers who follow this stuff, have seen people go big, write scripts. Those scripts end up getting out. Mm-hmm. And then do they end up walking away from the project? Yeah, some even get fired while they're shooting the project. So,
yeah. Very true.
Until it's airing in theaters, I don't believe it.
I know you're still waiting for the Black Adam not to come out.
No. I mean, it clearly is. It at least has footage, but I wouldn't be surprised if it got delayed and pushed back, and they made all of these excuses.
Yeah.
All right. Talking about things getting delayed. Ms. Marvel will come to Disney Plus in the fourth quarter of 2022. So it's coming in the fall of 2022.
Yeah. We're supposed to come out. Yeah, it was supposed to be the fall of 2021, but
I know. And you know what? We've seen images from them shooting this show.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. Don't know why you push it back so much, but.
Well, apparently, I think. Yeah, I guess with the realignment of all the films as well, I guess they're trying to have this one fall closer to the release of the Marvels, Captain Marvel 2.
Ooh, well, hey, this last year of Marvel has been really good. I like the balance between films and TV shows, and I don't feel like I've been inundated because I feel like everything has been spaced pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, if they're doing it for some strategic narrative purpose, then in Feige we trust. So
exactly.
And then you apparently want to speculate about Disney Plus Day tomorrow. So did they drop a Kenobi sizzle reel?
They did. Well, apparently it was dropped, and then it got a copyright claim. course. Yeah. So I think someone may have maybe prematurely leaked it because which is imagine that happening in 2021. Yeah, it was pretty dope actually. They had obviously Ewan McGregor and Deborah Chow talking about the project and of course Hayden coming back to play Darth Vader and it has some concept art with the within the little sizzle reel. It was about a minute 45, I guess, and showing concept art of Obi-Wan and Darth Vader squaring off in another lightsaber duel and some of the other locations and stuff that's going to appear in the show. So it was on Twitter for like a hot minute today, and then like I said, Lucasfilm like put a copyright claim on whoever on the site that leaked it. So I don't know if that's going to be the trailer is going to be shown tomorrow, or if we're going to get actual footage, given that they did finish filming. I want to say a month or so ago. So there's that, and then also there is, since it is Disney Plus Day, which is basically just celebrating the second anniversary of the service, they are going to be releasing 13 of the MCU films, including dropping Shang-Chi tomorrow in IMAX format. So there'll be that, and there's also like a special Marvel Studios featurette that they are going to be releasing around midday, 11:45 Eastern time tomorrow too. So I'm sure we'll probably be getting a lot of, probably like more info about Miss Marvel, but also She-Hulk and probably some of the other MCU properties and that's coming up. And also there's the Hawkeye Legends thing. They do these little teasers before the TV shows about the character and just sort of hit the highlights from their previous live action appearances. And then there's also the Shang-Chi Assembled, which is also those making of documentaries, which I've watched a couple of them, and they actually are pretty interesting as far as some of the behind the scenes stuff with the making of these films or TV shows.
Yeah, I can see why they would be interested. I remember back in the day when I had cable and we had Stars or HBO and before a movie was even released, you would see the behind the scenes making of it to like kind of sell your ticket. And then it took me like one or two films to realize, oh, I basically just watched the movie by watching the but that's cool.
Yeah, and they'll probably drop some others. I mean, there's other Star Wars things coming too. I mean, there's other thing too. They're doing a behind the scenes thing for Boba Fett as well. So yeah, so they're doing all these things to lead up to the things coming up, and I guess in the rest of this year and beyond, as far in year 3 of Disney Plus, which given the news I saw yesterday where their numbers are like starting to plateau a bit with new signups. They probably this is probably the shot in the arm they need to get people to be like, oh yeah, I need to sign up for this service, or come back. I mean, if people sign up and then drop off after their particular show.
Well, everybody has their strategy with it. I was talking to somebody and they were saying, yeah, I just sign up. I track what shows I need to watch, and then I do the free trial, binge, and then I end it. And then I come back. Which is a smart thing to do. I mean, in all honesty, there was a period of time when after Mandalorian season 1 dropped, I turned off my service and didn't turn it back on until Disney started dropping the Marvel shows. Or right after Hamilton dropped, I turned it off because this service would not be successful if it didn't have new original Marvel and Star Wars. I actually would also make an argument that I don't think this service would survive on just Star Wars alone.
No.
So
I completely agree.
Yeah. So it is very much using its resources and getting and that's why they wanted to do the TV shows, because they're like, we TV shows allow these types of platforms to survive.
Yeah.
In the long run, it's not just about being accessible to all of these movies and stuff, but you need that original TV shows to make people stick around.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when directors have creative differences and these movies don't necessarily come to fruition, and also Russian movies to just satisfy, we got to follow a trilogy or we got to get content out there, and it's kind of half-assed or half-baked concepts or not even completely thought out, then it really alienates the fan base. Whereas, like as you said, I mean, having the streaming platforms and really do give an opportunity for these properties to really develop and tell these long form stories about these characters and these universes that we've come to enjoy.
Yeah. So on that note, would you think that the Eternals would be better if it had been dropped on Disney Plus as a TV show?
Yeah, I do.
Interesting.
I do.
I don't.
Yeah. And it's funny, but here's the funny thing about the Eternals as we turn to it. So my gut reaction when I finished watching it in the theater,
mm-hmm.
I was I didn't think it was bad. I didn't think it was good. I was kind of mad. I was just kind of processing it. But as I got some distance from the film,
mm-hmm.
I think actually I do like it. I actually do like the film.
Mm-hmm.
I give them all kudos as trying to do something different, and I think getting back to our conversation just from a couple minutes ago, I think the WandaVisions and the Disney Plus shows sort of helped me as a MCU fan get off of that train of every movie's got to set something up for the future, and of course this film did that too, but I think the narrative things that were so strong in the TV shows like WandaVision and Loki in particular, mixing up the format kind of helped level set my expectations going into Eternals. And so when I just stop and pause and think about it, it's I like what they're doing as far as here in Phase 4, and I think it just fits into the overall theme of Phase 4 as far as how this is the more experimental phase of the MCU as we evolve this property moving forward.
So I had a random thought earlier today.
Yeah.
You know how much I adore Loki,
mm-hmm.
and the show, not necessarily the character. Especially that first episode. I think I've seen that first episode of Loki 3 or 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
And there's that part when Loki's going through the machine and first entering the TVA, and they ask him, "Do you have a soul? Are you a robot?"
Yeah.
So I was thinking about it, and I'm like, wait a second. So essentially the Eternals are pretty much robots.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he set that up to basically destroy any Eternal if they so happen to be captured by the TVA.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anyways, I thought that was pretty cool. Will doesn't seem so impressed, but whatever.
I think that's I didn't know. I didn't want to step on you. I think that's a beautiful idea. I mean, I just didn't know you had more. I love. I mean, I was waiting for the next segue to deeper.
That's as far as I got, Will. Okay. I just wanted a reason to make that joke that was so funny in that first episode more sense. I want to understand that more. We never got resolution.
We didn't.
So to my overall thoughts on the Eternals, I'm very much aligned with you where I think that this is a fine movie. How I would describe it is, and I can't for the life of me remember the last time this has happened. I think the Eternals, the characters are really good. I really like the characters. I love majority of the actor chemistry that's happening.
Yeah.
And it's just an overall good ensemble. Like when they were all on screen together and you saw the family dynamics, the dysfunction, it worked.
Yeah.
The problem is I didn't care for the story. Like the actual story, because it felt very much like, oh, we have to get everybody to join the team. And so I was like, okay, so they're going to take the next 15 minutes to do that. Oh no, they're going to take literally the second act.
Yeah. Oh God. That second act, I will freely admit that second act, my head was nodding.
And like I'm on the whole love triangle thing of it all.
Yeah.
Richard Madden and Gemma Chan did not have the best on-screen chemistry, and I don't blame Gemma for that. I blame Richard. Like, I know he knew that they were robots, but did he have to talk like a robot the entire time? Like, really? He could have been a little bit more charming. And like her and Jon Snow had pretty much like the best chemistry, even though we got it for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, they did. It was totally more believable with Dane and Cersei than it ever was with Icarus and Cersei. And I know you're right. They were just a love triangle with, humanity and Cersei and Icarus and all that. But it was just like
there was no moment where it was like where the viewers actually got to see her fall in love with humanity.
Exactly.
It's the thing.
Yes. And that's why back to your question, whenever you asked me if I thought it would work better as a Disney Plus show, that's why. Because I feel like, this movie was like 2 hours and 40 minutes long. It could have easily had trimmed like 20 minutes or so from it, because I felt like, to your point, the second act just felt like they were just repeating the same note over and over and over, and not really advancing anything further to as you said, to show why she loves humanity. We saw that with Phastos and Druig. As far so it was believable that Druig like went off to the Amazon and like created his own little thing, and for Phastos to fall in love, because of helping to create the atom bomb, and then and seeing what the consequences of it, and how he wanted to make things right, and how he did fall in love with someone and have a family. So yeah, I guess that was the problem with the conclusion of the film too, is like, Cersei is supposed to, keep the Celestial from becoming, from awakening and stuff. But you're right. It just, I never felt that moment. I felt like she felt in love with an individual human, but not the race as a whole.
And we didn't even see that moment. Like, we didn't see the actual moment when her and Icarus broke up.
Right.
We were told about it. We were told from his perspective about him just being very attracted to her.
Yeah.
In the beginning. See, and I disagree with you. I actually liked the second act. It was the first act that I was just like, okay, flashback.
Yeah.
Because the second act is actually when we got to see what happened to people. The thing that really just where I was like, okay, great. This is why I hate trailers.
Mm-hmm.
The moment that they go to Ajax's house and they find that Ajax is dead, I'm sitting in the theater and like, Icarus killed her. Okay.
Yeah.
Because of the stupid trailer that starts off with that scene between Icarus and Ajax. And I'm like, we haven't seen that scene yet. He killed her.
Yeah.
Damn it. If I had not pieced that together, because that reveal, you're supposed to feel betrayed.
Right.
And because I had already figured that out, I was just like, come on, guys, wake up. He's clearly evil. He's the good, which, I mean, at the same time, though, I can appreciate this idea of they are soldiers who were sent on this mission, and he was just following orders to the very end because it's what he believed in. It's just I don't know. I go back and forth. Like I agree with you that there was a lot of stuff that can be expanded upon and delved into more for these characters, but I'm just excited for the sequel. Because now that we've gotten through all of that stuff, the real adventures can begin.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, for an origin film, because I guess that's, it's an origin film, and you had like 10, 11 characters that you had to like, to balance, and so it was, I mean, I'm surprised that the film did not completely collapse under the complete weight of all the expectations and all the juggling of characters that they had to manage.
Yeah, I agree. I think that is it the best thing ever? Absolutely not. But I think it did what it needed to do to make me curious. Okay. Because I also appreciate how, even though they win, there was a consequence.
Yeah.
Which I don't think we've seen before, where the winning the good guys win, but at the end of the day, now they're taken, and we have to. The next adventure is going to be how to find them, and then we get introduced to Eros, who's potentially on our side, maybe not.
Right. We get. I mean, obviously we learn, and I like the way they tease the Black Knight too, as far as and Blade. Yes, I mean, formally introducing Blade, and I guess the reason why they didn't show him on screen was because they just couldn't get the costume done in time. But I just heard that on the podcast I was listening to earlier this week. But I mean, but the whole story, so we, again, it does the MCU thing of setting up things for future, but with Dane and his backstory and setting him up, and like, oh, I learned something about my family, from the ring that she gave, that Cersei gave him earlier in the film. So again, like I said, I mean, I think there were a lot of moving parts to this film. Hands off to Chloe Zhao for being able to juggle all that. And I know she's been like, she's been dying to direct the MCU film, and actually signed up for this before she even won her Oscar for Nomadland. And I joked when I saw your little note in the show notes about that they filmed this on the set of Dune.
Yeah, it's another thing that did not help this movie, or it could have, was that it got released right after Dune, and it's just a lot of sand.
Yeah,
a lot of sand, a lot of floating space crafts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Yeah, and that's the thing. Yeah, I mean that's the other thing about because the CGI. I mean, given that it was ILM and they were forerunners as far as this stuff. I mean, the I yeah that's the MCU. Their one little hang up has always been shaky special effects from time to time, and this film had it. And you're right. I mean, being right after Dune, two things I was thinking when I started watching the film. I was like, one, it did remind me of Dune because of all the sand in Mesopotamia, but two, I was like, dang it, I saw the trailer. I mean, basically, the first 10 minutes of the film was the trailer, were all the trailers, other than that one scene with Ajax. And I was like, okay, they really did hold things close to the vest because as far as this sort of how things unfolded with the rest of the film. And not even we hadn't even really touched on with Gilgamesh and Thea and their relationship, and
that was a great relationship. Yeah. I really appreciated it. I like how Angelina Jolie was in a Marvel movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she was Athena the whole time. It was she wasn't distracting.
Mm-hmm.
She played her part. So did Selma Hayek. And I like it. And the standouts to me were Druid and Speedy. What was her name?
Sprite.
No.
The Makari.
Makari.
The Speedy.
Like Chloe Zhao. Take those two actors.
Mm-hmm.
Write a different movie.
Yeah.
Romantic comedy, preferably. Put them in it.
Yeah.
I will buy tickets immediately. They had great chemistry, and I love that originally they were not going that way, but because of their on-screen chemistry, Chloe went there, and I'm like, yeah, I'm coming for a sequel. That better be part of it.
they better be featured. Yeah, because I was thinking more like, man, because I thought Makari didn't have hardly, she was collecting a lot of artifacts and stuff and all, but I was like, why can't she be the leader instead of Cersei? Because
I was that's another thing that if it had been a TV show we could have seen more, because I was also confused as Druid and her have always been flirting. So why didn't we didn't really get a full explanation for why everybody went their separate ways.
Mm-hmm.
So hard. There clearly had to have been some kind of just fights and arguments that caused it. We got some of it with Camille's character and Sprite.
Yeah.
And Sprite was a good character too. I for whatever reason I appreciated the whole comparison to Peter Pan, Wendy,
Tinkerbell.
I thought that was really good.
That was very good.
I think they could have done more with those characters because they had a history. Mm-hmm. I also think that they could have done more with Sprite and Cersei, just because to me, when we're first introduced to them, they seem like sisters, like best friends, but there was this animosity to the point where she chose Icarus over her best friend. So but see that at the end of the day, these characters, I really enjoy. I'm excited to see them again. I just wish there was a different story they were in.
Yeah, I think the story did not service certain characters as well. And because honestly, I felt Cersei was kind of flat. I mean, and Icarus too. I think it was just the way Richard Madden played. I mean, I know there was some. I think Chloe had noted that Zack Snyder, Man of Steel influence.
They can give it is what it is. But as for Cersei, I go back and forth. So much on it, and I don't know if it's just because a part of me is rooting for Gemma.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was surprised to see that, she's the lead.
Yeah.
Yes, well, this is interesting. But she was almost too quiet, and I've heard a lot of interesting perspectives about why those choices were made, for better or for worse. And it's mainly to parallel how women feel in the workplace or something. But I don't know. I think that yeah, maybe it's just because sometimes, with a lot of times with these ensembles, that main character is like the straight guy or straight girl in this instance, and everyone else around them is crazy, and so they often come off as being like, okay, we could have done without them, but they were the lead. I don't know. I don't know. We got two other things to talk about. Yeah. Excited to see more Eternals. Good setup.
Totally.
Not mad that Harry Styles was in it. It'll be fine. All right, let's move on to Doom Patrol. Had their season finale this week.
They did.
I only learned about that 5 minutes before we started recording. I did watch it, Will, but because I have been having to watch Doom Patrol and Batwoman, and then at one point Titans, all in the same night after work, right before we record, I have been checked out. It was a good finale. I figured out it was a finale while watching it, because I'm like, okay, what's happening? And what really did me was towards the end, Rita's talking about, hey, well, we did it, guys, and we can be heroes. We can use these gifts for good and everything. And somebody's like, yeah, we saved the town from us. And I'm like, bingo, that's what Will and I were talking about. The true enemies this season were themselves. Thank you very much.
Yep. I was thinking that same thing when I heard that line. Yeah. I mean, I thought it was a good finale. I think we talked about this with the penultimate episode last week, where started out strong, and then hit that kind of rough patch in the middle, but they finished strong and making amends for everyone, and we, and very self-referential with they won't ever fully call themselves, they won't ever get referred to as Doom Patrol. It was, what was it, Doom Squad, what was it, Doom I read in my notes, it's like Doom Force. Yeah, there it is. But it was, I think the title was perfect for this episode. It was Amends Patrol, and so it brought like, to your point, the enemies this whole season were themselves, and it really did, with all of them making amends, it did finally mostly bring closure to the journey that they have taken up to this point. Because if we had another, there's only so many ways you can like redo Therapy Patrol before it starts to get stale. And so I think, so this episode really, they were making amends. Larry did get the positive energy, through Vic, because Vic, realized, like, I fell down on the job with Cliff, but I'm not going to do that with Larry. And the underground is still still has a lot of turmoil and stuff, and I think that's just the nature of the underground. Those personalities are always going to be like fighting one another to be the prime. But Hammerhead was like, I'm nobody's bitch, and
right,
and set things up so that Jane could go and and meet up with the Fog and try to resolve these issues with the underground and with Kay as well. So and then of course, Cliff, Rita making it on to Florida and taking, and dispensing with the brain, and Mola, having this, he's like, look, I had a good life. I don't know why the brain has to go and screw everything up just because he wants to get Cliff, to get Cliff's body. But yeah, I mean, it did all those things, and then, I thought it was very smart the way that they, Laura DeMille wrote the letter to herself, and then just all the descriptions of the characters again. It was just like, that was just, get all the funny, all the things that I felt like we were missing, even though I know a lot of times, I know we were watching a show on compressed timeline, so we wouldn't get behind, but I still felt even these last few weeks, I felt that they were getting back on track with what was so smart about this series.
I agree. I mean, for better or for worse, I definitely started to see more of the Doom Patrol from season 1, season 2 in these last few episodes than early on this season. I think looking back, I'm excited for the 4th season just because I'm curious now, having gone through this season, what are they going to do? Mm-hmm. And how are they going to continue moving these characters forward? And honestly, I'm also just wondering, and we were kind of talking about this last week when we were talking about Stargirl, is what's the overall plan for this show?
Yeah.
What is the end game here with these characters and this overall storyline? Because I feel like the first season was also ended on this note of hey guys, we can be superheroes.
Yeah, it did. It did.
So, are they gonna just repeat that? And I mean, we're talking because we've been scarred by these shows. We've watched a few of these shows from start to finish, and it's okay, there was clearly no end game. You wrapped your end game in season 1, but yeah, cool, and it's good. And at the very fucking least, Larry is finally positive, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. I'm glad.
But poor Vicky's we finally become a superhero, but I don't have my stuff. I don't have my stuff.
They'll figure out a way to bring back his stuff.
See, I thought, honestly, I thought that because Vic was helping Larry by taking the energy, I thought that the fake skin stuff that he, got from that clinic was going to get all burned up, and Silas was going to have to come back and restore him to Cyborg. But
right,
I thought that was the way they were going, but they kept Vic new Vic.
New Vic. All right. Moving on to Batwoman in Gotham. Basically, this episode can be summed up in a dinner party gone wrong with mommy. They're taking a Joker route. There was a Montoya Poison Ivy connection.
Yeah.
I don't know what paralytic was used, but good Lord, it was very distracting to me how these characters were oh, I can't move my arm. And then one of them gets up and then suddenly they fall over. And I'm like, so is it all just hitting you at different times? And then also, why can Ryan, yeah, she was struggling, but she pretty much was getting up and walking around.
Yeah. And that was before she got the EpiPen.
Why is this hitting everyone? And I don't like this whole Joker thing that they're doing. Oh my God.
Well, yeah. So basically, yeah.
You know why, Will?
Yeah. Because
we just wrapped season 3 of Titans, and it was all about Red Hood.
Yeah, it was. We touched on this last week, and I think this week. So I think I figured out what they're doing this season. And well, at least until Poison Ivy gets here.
Okay.
So, so in order, so they're basically all, what we've seen with the villain of the week are just knockoffs of the original Bat villain. Right. So they're just doing this stringing us along because this, the pig dude was inspired by the original pig, and we had, this cryo drug was inspired by Dr. Freeze, and instead of having Dr. Freeze, we had Nora, his wife and sister-in-law or whatever. So so basically these are stringing us along with these villain of the weeks using the Bat villains until we get Poison Ivy, which we're getting much closer. And then, of course, they drop little Easter eggs like, yes, Catwoman does exist in the Arrowverse. I'm like, okay, well, fair. That's good to know. I hate that their theory that Ryan and, well, I guess it could still happen. That Bruce is Ryan's father, but we know that at least Marquis' dad is definitely not Bruce Wayne. So, but yeah, I mean, I feel, I mean, I think overall the seasons is fun. They're enjoyable episodes, and they're just, and given that they only have 13, I think, we were talking about earlier how fast the season seems to be going, and this is why. And I didn't realize there were actually 13 episodes until this week. I was like, oh, I thought they had a 18 episode order, but I guess not. So, we're one step closer to Poison Ivy. We get some more backstory as far as Montoya and her love affair with Poison Ivy. And I'm like, I think everybody, everyone in this show like ships one another except for Luke and Mary.
So it was funny watching this episode because for some odd reason, when I was watching Doom Patrol, a thought in my mind was like, what is going on with Montoya? I feel like we saw her briefly for one episode, and then she's just been off screen. And then this episode, her and Alice have all these storylines, which I actually liked.
Yeah.
I appreciated their dynamic. Alice this season Alice works, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
This Sophie stuff is still weird to me. Not her and Ryan liking each other. I've said that since day one, but just what is her job? Like, they even made jokes about it.
Yeah, exactly.
They're a babysitter, and then she's basically an escort for Ryan. So what is her job? No, but seriously, how is she paying her rent? I just need to understand. Because, I mean, when she was a Crow, there was a different aspect to her on the show that came from a perspective, and I feel as though they've just put her into this love interest box.
Yeah, it is. But,
I don't like it. They need to figure out a way to use her. They need to, and this is why I was thinking about Montoya before the episode, because I was like, why isn't Sophie and Montoya interacting more?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. But, well, yeah. Well, I guess there would be the only, but to your point, because that would be the perfect dramatic tension that you need, given that you have a former Crow and a Gotham PD detective, and Gotham, and all the dynamics that Gotham PD has with the corruption and other things, and you got the corrupt Crows. I mean, you could use them as foils, or you could use them as teammates. I mean, but you're right; it is a missed opportunity.
Like, make it a love triangle.
Yeah, or a love. Yeah, I mean, clearly, I mean, they're all
triangle. Like, love it up.
Yeah, they could.
You got a vigilante on one side, you got a police officer on the other, you have an ex-Crow right in the middle. Perfect symmetry.
Yeah, perfect. perfect. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a missed opportunity.
Yeah, maybe they'll get there.
Maybe.
But yeah, I'm just stuck on you telling me there's 13 episodes, and I'm like, and we still have yet to get Poison Ivy.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Like, it's going quickly, but I'm like, is she gonna appear in the very last episode? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Well, and maybe that's because this season is just a setup for the next season. Maybe.
Could be.
Ryan and Jada's dynamic. I don't understand how we go from last week's episode to Jada basically wanting to take down Wayne Enterprises to them having dinner.
Yeah, so I think the dinner. I think she was because using that as an opportunity to again intimidate her.
Nope, doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no, I mean, it did seem like it did seem that they were adversaries, and then because I mean, and Ryan, threw the invitation away, and then Mary dug it out.
Just doesn't make sense. Like, Jada wanted nothing to do with her, and then she like gets upset, then starts to go after Wayne Enterprise, and then all of a sudden is like, hey honey, I want you to come to dinner, and then at the end of it says, don't you see, I've been trying to protect you for this entire time from your brother, who like gave no sign of being a psychopath before this.
None.
No sign. Like,
well, none. And that was so. This is like, they were like holding back. You're like, okay, they're gonna completely F with the audience here and like, make him the Joker light.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. This season is fine. I just wish there were more like, oh my God, they did that. Like, the twists, I'm not enjoying the twists this season.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think this is the twists are kind of, and then I think that again, they're just. I mean, I wish they would just, instead of doing these knockoff Bat villains, just give. I mean, I'm not as familiar with Batwoman in the as far as the comic and their natural their rogues gallery, but it reaches a point. I think I even read somewhere that even the Penguins, a version of the knockoff Penguin's going to show up this season too. So my complaint last week, and it holds true to this week, is they're going into the Bat universe and dealing with all the Bruce's stuff, but I would like to see some original villains for Ryan, and not people that we've seen in other. What's that?
No, not to cut you off, but not even an original villain, like somebody from the B list that you can make. I mean, they took Alice, and Alice is like a very complicated character. They should be able to do that with more. And what really I think should be worrying us, Will, is if they go through the entire like A list, what are they going to do next season?
Yeah. Well, and maybe
I want the third knockoff. And stop doing the Joker. Just stop it. Stop it right now.
We had him last season. Now we got him showing up again, and again. I mean, yes, it's Gotham City, and yes, they can be. I think it's all. It's one of those things that I think what the Arrowverse did well at the beginning was keeping the Trinity out of the mix. And I think they need to go back to that some, because DC has a wide swath of characters and stuff, and it's like taking it to the having doing live action, another live action version of Superman, but now we're going to make him Black Superman, even if it is Calvin Ellis or Kal-El or Val-Zod or whoever. But it's the same king. They have a deep bench of characters that and she used the Marvel world, bring them up and explore them so that like with the Eternals, for example. And, because they even on the DC side, they were going to do New Gods, and then now they decided not to. I mean, so I think the same thing with the show. We don't need, we've seen all these various iterations of Scarecrow and Joker and others in live action. Let's go to some other characters like Alice that we haven't seen in live action.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Yeah. All right. On that note, Will, why don't you tell our listeners where they can find you?
Yes, you can find me at Will M. Polk, WILLMPOLK.
You can find me on Twitter at SJ Belmont, SJBELMONT. Please follow our crew on Twitter at CNN Nerd. Friend us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and visit our website, www.cnnerdpodcast.com. But most importantly, rate, follow, and comment on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Good night, Geek Out. You're welcome.